worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. I'm Jaime En Fuego and am so stoked to have you joining me here for Enfuegotainment. That's right, yours truly's namesake program, Jaime En Fuego being me, just call me Fuego for short. And this is especially fun because this is the beginning of my road to the Oscars reviews. And so essentially I'm going to be doing reviews for all 8 of the best pictures, counting them down. So I'm going to start with my 8 being least favorite and then cycle all the way down to my personal number 1. And then I'm also going to be doing the animated features that were nominated, those 5 films. And also just a few others of noteworthy Oscar consideration, like, you know, Can You Ever Forgive Me and First Reformed, and just ones where there's been some nominations in the writing and the acting categories and things like that. But today, we are starting out with Ocho, my number 8, for the countdown on the Best Pictures review list. And it was really wavering between this and the film that is going to be up next for coverage. But this one I felt like had some pertinence today because it was just released to home, you know, Blu-ray and so on today. And that is the Queen biopic, but very specifically Freddie Mercury biopic, because he is the one that we focus on and follow. It's really his story more so than anything else. Yes, we are talking Bryan Singer's Bohemian Rhapsody. That's right. And so here on Enfuegotainment, I always like to do BUENO, MALO, and FEO. Yes, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's definitely a little bit of all 3 for this particular film, and it kind of languished in development hell for the longest time, and initially had Sacha Baron Cohen was attached, so yeah, Borat himself, Dolly G, and yeah, Dolly G was going to do it at one point, and that was, from what I've read, a much darker script. And apparently the band was not the surviving members of Queen, who were out with Adam Lambert touring and doing their thing. It's only half of the remaining members. The bassist for Queen retired a number of years ago. But you know, Brian May and the drummer, whose name is eluding me right at the moment, you know, they're still out doing it and, you know, filling arenas and so on. But I guess the collective surviving members of the band and the family and so on and so forth, they thought it was too dark of a film, and so we ended up getting the brighter, happier, fluffier, behind the music-ish type film that we have here. And you know, it's starting out with good. Let's obviously start out with the good. The bueno in this movie is obviously the music from Queen that we get, and the fact that you needed that licensed music. You didn't want to go a route with like where Andre 3000 was Jimi Hendrix and they couldn't use any of the music. And it's like, if you can't utilize the music in a biopic from said artist, what the hell is the point? And so there is great music throughout. They basically, I mean, really the structuring of the film is going chronologically, with the exception of the movie is bookended by the big Live Aid performance and stuff, but then it segues to, you know, the humble beginnings of Queen with Freddie stepping in and, you know, joining this band, and you know, rebranding a new singer and all this other stuff, and just their ascent, obviously, and you know, the travails of you know, to quote Guns N' Roses, the perils of rock and roll decadence, which, you know, Freddie definitely had, but god damn was he talented, and god damn is it a very talented performance by Rami Malek, dude from Mr. Robot, and done a few other things, including the mocap for that Until Dawn video game. Funniness. But yeah, he's definitely seen a lot of acclaim for his role on Mr. Robot television show, which I have not personally watched, so I can't really say that I have much experience with him beyond this fantastic performance as Freddie Mercury, and he really knocks it out of the park in my estimation. He's fun, he's flamboyant. They went in the makeup design and stuff a little overbearing with the overbuy kind of thing. It definitely kind of sticks out way more so, in my opinion, than it did with Freddie. But just his mannerisms, his, you know, oh darling, and all this different stuff. He really, and I've watched a lot of different Freddie Mercury videos, you know, interviews and things like that, you know, being a pretty Queen is not one of my absolute favorites from that British era of classic rock and stuff like that. I mean, I always was more so, you know, Floyd and Zeppelin and Sabbath kind of guy, but nonetheless, I appreciate the hell out of Queen and, various others that I didn't, really love, like Moody Blues and the Kinks and so on. And, Queen, they're Freddie was just such a fascinating frontman because for me, he epitomized just the perfect person to have on stage, riling up a crowd and just getting your band going. Obviously, Page was really good at doing that as well, or excuse me, Plant was really good at doing that as well. But with the exception of maybe Axl Rose, who has helped out, with like Queen stuff at at certain events and whatnot, at some big concerts too. It's very interesting to see how Malick really just became Freddie, and his performance is definitely. He also got nominated for an Oscar for best performance, best male performance, best actor, and with good reason. It's a tremendous role, very well realized. I'm still kind of curious what Dolly G would have brought to the mix, but I mean, he killed it. He slayed it on stage and everything, behind as well. I thought it's really. It's the love of the music and it's his performance that is the primary bueno of this, because as I segue, and it's a well-shot movie. Bryan Singer is a damn good director. He was fired while this movie was being made, while they were at the very tail end of filming. They bring in the director of the upcoming Rocket Man and Eddie the Eagle, Dexter Fletcher, I want to say his name is. But long story short, Bryan was not able to finish the movie, but since he did like 9/10 of it or whatever, I'm not sure how heavily involved he was in the post-production process. But yeah, he's still, despite all of his current legal issues and whatnot, he's still, got the directing credits on this, and with good reason. Bryan Singer's a hell of a director. Whether it's the second X-Men film and Days of Future Past, especially for me, but Apt Pupil, The Usual Suspects. He's a terrific director, and it's a very well directed movie. Especially all the concert scenes and whatnot. Those are tremendously done, and I felt like even the minor players, like the rest of Queen and the agents and the lawyers and the record execs and whatnot, he gets good performances from his cast. And in fact, with pretty much even with something like Jack the Giant Slayer, that's not a very good movie, it's still a great looking movie. And same with the Valkyrie one, and he always gets really good performances out of his actors, and this film is no exception. But the bad for me, the MALO here. The MALO is the script, and the script it really does just gloss over everything like a VH1 special, or like biopic, like made for TV biopic in a lot of ways, because of the fact that it never really dives very deep into much. I mean, they gloss over everything from the creative tensions to the substance abuse from Fred to, I mean, it felt very surface level. And being a PG-13 film, I wish this could have been rated R. It's bad that this movie was not rated R because it didn't really tackle those tough subjects like addiction, at least for me, in as stark and just almost like frightening of a fashion as they could have, if this movie was able to just go harder for it. And it's just, it's like, okay, here's us making this song and, the process behind it. And here's us fighting about, doing disco and then all that stuff and, using drum loops or whatever. And then, then they're working on another one, Bites the Dust. And but I still had a lot of fun with this movie. Despite the fact that it is very just, note for note what you would expect, and it felt it was really just the equivalent of a cover band, You can still have a lot of fun with a cover band, man. But, once again, the bad is the fact that it is a cover band, and so you're just gonna get those notes, the note for notes, and not really anything that new or exciting or anything beyond that. And really, that's what you get here. A really damn good cover band is the best way that I can describe this. And that's where the great new ground in a few ways that they broke with A Star Is Born, and some not so good in other ways, which I'm going to be reviewing because that is one of the Best Picture nominees as well. That just forged enough new ground for me in certain respects that, I don't know, Bohemian Rhapsody just didn't do anything daring, in my opinion. And Queen was such a daring, out there, just, you know, so much bravado band, and we're so distinctive and whatnot. And that's one thing that, aside from their music and from Raimi's performance, this film does not possess that. So the ugly, the feo, is the easiest thing imaginable here. I guess it is ugly, you know, to some degree as well, that they just didn't go for the ugly underbelly of certain aspects of the band and Freddie going solo and everything. And I still love that Freddie Mercury solo material. Like, holy goodness, it's still, I was listening to it on Pandora mix the other day, and I had it on Queen, and then just kept coming back to Freddie's solo stuff, and I was just like, damn, the solo stuff, it's so orchestral and so. But aside from not going after the ugly topics and really just showing that sort of nastiness, I guess, especially you could presume in the creative process and everything, the nasty is going to be, because feo in my reviews, guys, can be many different things, but here it's definitely going to be the behind the scenes trouble with Bryan Singer, where they were saying he was tough on set, showing up late, all these different things. You know, he's Tommy Wiseau in it, you know, and he was taken off of the project because of the fact that there was some new allegations that were coming, and they've only continued since then. And unfortunately, him and his buddy Kevin Spacey, without going into too much detail, there's allegations from young men, and unfortunately, this is not the first time that this has happened on film sets. You know, I mean, Apt Pupil, which is a fantastic Stephen King. I always have to bring up Cy King on any video I ever do, anybody who knows me well enough. But yeah, going all the way back to Apt Pupil, when he was first just breaking in to the industry after you know, all the success of The Usual Suspects. You know, there was allegations as far back then that had settled out of court and all this different stuff, and it's like now in the Me Too and the Time's Up and all this different stuff movements, this stuff shouldn't have been tolerated in the first place, you know, but it's really just the floodgates have opened. And Bryan Singer, his Red Sonja project, that a lot of people were surprised he was even able to obtain working on that film and directing it, the remake of that property, because of the sheer fact that there's so much ongoing with him. And that project is now officially on hold. It's on indefinite hiatus as of this past week. And so that's really the ugliness. And I feel like the stigma that is following this film unfairly, in my opinion, and that is another ugly thing to mention here, is the fact that even though it's definitely not the best film of the year, it's not even the best musical of the year, but there were so many other people, Raimi especially in his fantastic performance, the great supporting cast here, that even though they don't have as much time to shine, they all do very well. But we're talking cinematographers, and we're talking set designers and costume designers and all these different people, hundreds and hundreds you would imagine, that worked on this film and contributed to making it as it's still a really awesome film, especially if you like Queen. You can't focus on the negatives of how much better it could have been. You know, you just have to accept what you got. And I always try to be, but not always successfully, I try to be an optimist and not a pessimist, you know, glass half full. More often than not, I'm a realist. I hope for the best, but I plan for the worst. But yeah, this is definitely a film for me that at the end of the day, it's ugly that a lot of people who were part of this project and all the success that it's seen are unfairly being lumped into just a backlash, which is undeserved in my opinion. So yeah, there you have it, y'all. At the end of the day, I always like to give a score here in the Enfuegotainment 2019 film coverage, and so this is definitely a 3 out of 5. This is a BUENO film, and it definitely, if you enjoy Queen's music, I hope you don't walk away disappointed. I hope you walk away, especially, man, the use of the Highlander song in this film, narrative-wise, is worth the price of admission for me. It's used in the narrative just perfectly and so wonderfully bittersweetly. Who Wants to Live Forever? You know, it's one of the best points in the entire film. And I didn't love this movie, but I still really liked it. The next Best Picture review that you are going to see and that you have to look forward to is going to be Vice, which is my number 7. I think Vice is a much better made movie, and it had more to say, even if I didn't always appreciate as much of what it had to say. and I feel like certain bits were overdone. It was a little overblown. And not as compelling of a movie for me, but I feel like it is a better movie at the end of the day. So that's the next Oscar preview film review that you can look forward to from me, y'all. So I extend a grande gracias once again to anybody tuning into this Road to the Oscars review. I've been Jaime En Fuego once again, and you can find me on all social media sectors, primarily Twitter and Instagram, also on Facebook, where I have, if you're into Stephen King, a Facebook group called Hail to Stephen King, where we do nothing but Sci King discussion all the time. Stephen King was not just into making scary stuff, guys. He wrote tremendous dramatic stuff like Stand By Me, Shawshank Redemption, and so yes, if you're into you know, spooky Sci King, or just you know, other stuff, you know, like Dolores Claiborne and Misery and whatever that's not based in the supernatural, please come and join the Hail to Stephen King Facebook group. I would greatly appreciate it. I am the sole admin and moderator on there, and also that is a program, Hail to Stephen King being, that airs on the horror show, so I would be remiss not to make mention of that. Currently we are still doing 2, sometimes 3 episodes a day. We just reviewed Happy Death Day to You at the early press screening a couple nights ago, and yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of that film. So if you want to see all of the coverage under the horror umbrella that you can shake a stick at, or a machete at in this case, yes, we greatly appreciate liking, sharing, and subscribing. And please do the same thing here. Hit the bell so that you get a notification about any of my new Road to the Oscars reviews as they are coming over the next like week and a half or so. And don't forget to make sure to tune into the Oscars on February 24th on ABC. So once again, until the Wheel of Ka brings us around to another another film review, I have been Fuego. Y'all have been awesome, and until then, hasta luego, cinemigos. But I am hopeful that we get to reconnect sooner rather than later. Till then, peace.